Nice piece of work.
I thought you always hated it.
Not now. Give me something to remember how it was.
It'll come out fine, darling.
How's he doing?
He's happy.
That's the best way to die.
Car's all set, Mr. Cully.
Look him over carefully. No mistakes?
Already have. Just waiting for you to blow the whistle.
Just blow him.
You want to say goodbye to him?
It's sad.
Well, Mr. Cully, he wants us to thank you for the clothes and the use of the car.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Ned?
Pete?
That's a pretty nervous welcome.
Sorry, Pete. It's a nervous night.
Oh, I got that impression from your call. What's the trouble, Ned?
Joe Cully.
That's a lot of trouble.
Particularly if you got a $100,000 bond on him.
Ned, did you go bond on Cully?
Come on now, Pete. You know the business. A man needs bail. If he doesn't look like a skip, you give it to him.
Sure, but Cully...
Another thing a bondsman doesn't do is judge his clients. That's for the court. What was I gonna do? Joe Cully, biggest racket man in town, due to go to trial on the 21st. His bail is set at $100,000. 10% of that is 10 grand.
Sure, but...
Besides, where was the risk? DA and the cops watching Cully like a hawk. I had every policeman in town insuring my risk.
What do you mean, had?
Something very funny happened to Cully on his way to the criminal courts division.
He went south?
Way south. If what his wife says is true, we're going to have a tough time getting in touch with him.
Really? What did she say?
I talked to her a half hour ago. Somebody put a bomb in his car. She says he's dead.
What does that do to your bond?
That's the problem. If Cully is dead, I get my money back. If the cops have the same suspicion I have, they'll keep the case open.
And you hang with the bond?
High and very dry.
Ned, what are you trying to say? That you think Cully's still alive?
I'm saying I'd like to find out $100,000 worth.
That's a generous amount of curiosity.
Pete, you know Cully. You've crossed his path a couple of times. I thought you might be able to look in a few dark corners for me. Just for old time's sake.
Sure, Ned. I'll see what I can do. After all, I owe you a couple.
Pete, I dropped this bond. I'll need a corner to peddle tangerines.
I'll see what I can find.
Funny thing, you know why I called his wife? I had a feeling I was going to rescind that bond.
Take it easy, Ned. Money isn't everything.
Name me one thing that's better.
Like living.
Trocafor. Troc-o-4. From trocus, that's wheel, plus the four, that's zoology. Trocafor, a free-swimming ciliate larva, typical of marine annelid worms, but occurring in several vertebrate groups. Ha, right on the old pizzazz. Pretty good, huh?
Oh, that's wonderful, Ned. It's just wonderful. But why?
Here, pick something. Anything.
Huh?
But don't show it to me. Now, pick.
All right. Just a minute.
Go ahead, ask me.
All right. The Juana land.
Bejuanaland. A British protectorate in the region north of the Malapo River, seat of administration Malfakang, in the Union of South Africa, 275,000 square miles, population...
Nibs, I'm impressed.
It's a breeze. Got it all right up here. Everything from aardvark to Zymurgy, all tucked away.
Yeah. You must have a reason.
You ever see that library up at State Pen? Man does a 6 to 8 and don't learn nothing. It's a waste. Besides, look at the payoff coming.
Payoff?
Yeah, all them TV quiz shows. Let them ask me anything. I'm fat. All I got to worry about's income tax. Pete? What is it?
Well, I hate to tell you this, Nibs, but there aren't any quiz shows. Not anymore.
You're kidding. Why? What happened?
Well, let's just say that was another era.
So what am I going to do with all this head full of information?
Oh, you've got a sale right now.
Pick a subject.
Joe Colley.
Rough subject.
Look, you used to work for him. Did you hear about his car blowing up? You got any idea who might want to kill him?
Everybody.
More specifically.
Nobody.
How's that?
Who'd have the nerve?
You don't think anybody'd make a pass at him?
Not if they had all their marbles. Joe didn't go in for competition. He eliminated all of it years ago.
Neat trick.
Joe had a lot of talent.
Yeah. Maybe he still has. Nice portrait.
So you were a friend of my husband.
Well, you see, Joe and I have had dealings, Mrs. Cully.
You said on the telephone it was important.
I think so.
To whom, Mr. Gunn? You or me?
Probably you. If you were a party to your husband's disappearance.
Disappearance? My husband was killed.
That depends on one's point of view.
What are you inferring?
Just speculating. You see, a lot of people are interested in your husband's death, if he's dead.
I'm afraid I don't follow you.
Maybe that's because you're too far ahead of me.
Are we quite finished?
Mrs. Cully, how were you able to make positive identification of your husband?
Why don't you ask the police?
They're not satisfied either.
I saw Joe through the window, and then the explosion. The police found fragments, his watch, ring, wallet.
Did it ever occur to you they could have been planted on somebody else?
We are quite finished.
Not quite. I thought you might be interested in a bondsman. He's got a lot of money at stake. Now, if the police keep this case open, he could get a fugitive warrant on your husband. That would mean they'd never stop looking.
My husband is dead.
You tell him anyhow, if you should happen to see him. Mrs. Cully.
Joe.
I heard.
Joe, what are we going to do?
First thing we're going to do is not come unstuck.
You got to get out of here.
Advertise that I'm still alive. You have to wait for the police to close the case. For the new face to heal.
That bondsman, what if he should ask for a warrant?
He won't. I'm gonna make a few arrangements.
I got a business to run. I can't run it while I'm hiding.
Ed, look, if Cully is alive, you could get killed. You're taking a big chance.
I took the big chance when I made that bond. I don't think there's much doubt about Cully's being alive. One of my investigators just called. Looks like he ran into something.
Like what?
Like evidence. He's over in a flop house on 4th. I was just going down there.
Well, no, wait a minute. You're not going anyplace. You're going to stay right here. Now, what's the name of the investigator?
Al Landers. Here's the address he gave me.
Fine. You give him a call. Tell him I'll be right there.
Cotton. You can make millions in cotton.
Oh, sure.
Don't buy industrials.
No.
Buy cotton.
Yeah.
That's how I made my first fortune.
Oh, yeah?
I'm telling you, when you play the market, you gotta come in on the peak.
Oh, sure.
You go with the bulls.
Go to Wolves,
Yeah, not with the bears.
Oh, no.
No, that's where most people make their mistakes. You see, industrials have got too many factors involved.
Yeah.
But cotton has only got one. Hey, what do you think you're trying to do? I thought you were my friend.
Oh, sure I am.
Well, let me explain to you about the stock market crash in '29.
Oh, yeah.
It would never have happened
No?
if the regular people who play the market had been in there. But everybody had money, and people who didn't understand it all came in, and this is what caused the difference
Landers?
between
Yeah.
good luck and
You must
bad
be
luck.
Gunn. Ned just called.
What do you
He said you had something.
I thought you were my friend. My bottle.
I'm your friend.
Fella rented this bed. Name's Martin. Derelict, drifter. He's disappeared.
What's that got to do with Joe Cully?
Well, I was running down a lead. Happened to find out that a couple of Cully's hoods named Sales and Regan picked this Martin up in a bar.
That's interesting.
It gets even more interesting. I'd have missed the lead completely if Martin hadn't suddenly become popular overnight.
Just how does a derelict become popular overnight?
By getting his name in the papers because he had this under his mattress.
Irish Sweepstakes?
Had the 3rd horse. If he's still alive, he can collect almost $90,000.
$90,000. And to think that I had a chance to trust him for a drink and I blew it.
The two men who were talking to Martin, did you hear any of the conversation?
I told him I saw them. They had cash, I'm busy, and I couldn't care less.
Why don't you give it another try? You must have overheard something.
Is there a law says I gotta listen? I run a beer and wine joint. I mind my own business. And speaking of business, you guys are costing me. Want to buy a drink?
Thanks anyway.
$90,000. Oh, well, taxes will murder him.
If somebody else hasn't already.
Watch the crystal wearing. Show your money.
You satisfied?
How tall did you say this Martin was?
5'10". Just tall enough to be Joe Cully.
I'm gonna throw you right out the floor. I'm telling you, you're gonna sit and be quiet. You're gonna behave yourself. You good boy? Forget now. Hi, Rosie. I know. Beer with 2 lumps of sugar.
Sugar?
Well, what are you going to do?
The only thing I can do. Certify the dead man as Joe Cully, then try to find out who killed him. That's the way it's got to read.
I can give you another way for it to read.
Lemon.
Look, Cully doesn't want to go to trial, so he sends a couple of his boys down to Skid Row. They pick up a guy, you know, the same height, same weight, a derelict, a nobody, somebody that won't be missed.
So?
So they plant this somebody in the car. Goodbye, derelict. Only they're unlucky enough to have picked one of the luckiest guys alive.
Pete.
A little man with a ticket on the sweepstakes. But where is he? If he were alive, he'd be running for that money.
I know, but it's still a theory. What does it prove? All you got is a missing derelict.
Yeah, well, that derelict could very well turn out to be Joe Cully.
Look, I've got a stuffy captain. He isn't interested in theories, particularly outside theories, just lab reports. The lab says the deceased could very well be Joe Cully, and there's no proof that he isn't.
You still not going to move?
Only with what I've got.
Yeah. I'll see you.
Where you going?
See if I can find a couple of Cully's boys, the one that picked up that derelict.
The department will take care of that in good time.
Right now is a pretty good time.
Pete. Nice and easy, huh? What good is the right theory if you're not around to prove it?
Maybe you didn't understand the question.
Oh, I'm afraid I can't help you.
You haven't tried.
That takes concentration. I can't keep track of the customers. Now, unless you want to shave.
Look, it isn't hard. Regan and Sales, two of Cully's boys. Do you know them?
Sure. Neck trim, once over lightly, no talc.
I don't want to shave them. I just want to find them.
Funny, but distracting. I take off.
You're open a little late, aren't you?
Non-union. Good night.
Thanks for the cooperation.
Hey. You play with horses?
That's illegal.
I've got a hot one here.
That right?
Sales and Regan.
What race?
Gonna make a bet for me?
Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way.
They got a telephone call about 15 minutes ago. Moved out of here fast.
You know where they went? Are you sure?
Look, chum, I give you the winner. What else do you want? Place and show? What do you think I am, a tout?
Hello?
Ned, this is Gunn.
We must have a bad line. I can hardly hear you.
Listen, I've got something. I don't want to be seen at your place. Meet me.
Where?
At the little park on Edgedale Avenue. At the fountain. 10 minutes.
I'm on my way. Pete? 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 Is that you?
I suggest you hold it. Right there.
No, don't get nervous.
Is it all right if I do?
I'm glad you're you, Lieutenant.
What are you doing here?
Well, I was afraid something might have happened to Ned.
It did.
Oh, no.
We just got a call. He got blasted
When?
a little while ago. Looks like that theory of yours is beginning to take on some character.
You mean you buy Joe Cully being alive?
I'll let you know more about it after I pick up Cully's two hoods.
What'll that get you? You think they're going to admit that they killed Grant?
We might be able to shake him up a little.
And if you don't?
Then we'll have a long, intimate chat with Mrs. Cully.
Yeah, well, I had a long chat with Mrs. Cully. She's not very intimate.
Obviously, you've got an idea.
Yeah. Look, Lieutenant, if you'd like to talk, would you mind doing me a favor?
What?
have your, put his gun away.
Put your gun away.
That's a nice picture.
Are you trying to blackmail me?
Oh, I wouldn't want to do something like that to you, Mrs. Cully. It's your husband I want to blackmail.
How many times do you want it? My husband is dead.
You just don't seem to understand. I'm the only one who can prove your husband's still alive. I found a bartender. He saw two of your husband's associates pick up a man in his bar. Mrs. Cully, the man was the same weight and height as your husband. Same size.
What does that prove?
Cully had a good idea going. It's still good, if he takes care of me.
What do you want?
Oh, a little security in my old age. Let's say 100,000. That's a nice round figure.
That's preposterous.
Why don't you tell your husband and see what he says? I'll be waiting at this address. I won't wait long, Mrs. Cully. Tell him he's got 2 hours, and then I go to the police. Yeah? That's a nice picture. I don't think we've got an appointment.
How do you figure that? You made it.
With your boss, Cully.
He was unavoidably detained.
And that wasn't smart of him. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go to the police.
You won't live that long.
Neither will you if you reach for that gun. I thought Cully was smarter than this.
Looks like he was waiting for us.
Looks that way, doesn't it?
So, we better go see Cully.
That was the original idea.
Right there, Reagan.
Pete!
Frisk him.
Up.
All right, Regan. We're going to have a very brief conversation. Either I take you downtown and book you for murder, or you tell me where Cully is.
I don't know nothing.
He's probably fixing to blow the country. If he does, you could be nailed for that derelict's death.
But if we get to him in time, we'll consider you a cooperative witness. There's a lot of difference between cell time and a gas chamber.
He ain't going nowhere. He's at the house.
Thanks for the setup, Landers.
Just don't tell my wife. She hates violence.
Let's go.